Number 57. To do this one, you're going to need to know a fair bit about matrices, and a lot of kids don't because it's not really emphasized that much at a lot of schools. But it is on the ACT, so here's what you need to know for it. If I have a matrice that looks like this, matrices are defined by rows by columns. Rows by columns. What I mean by that is this has 2 rows, and it has 1, 2, 3 columns. In other words, I would classify this as a 2 by 3 matrix. Why that's important is if we're doing matrix multiplications, the columns of the first one has to match the rows of the second. So what I mean by that is if I have a 3 by 2 matrix and I'm trying to multiply it by a 3 by 5 matrix, that does not work, and the reason is these don't match up. The columns of the first one needs to match the rows of the second, otherwise you can't multiply in the first place. Now, something that would work is that if I did obviously let's say I did a 3 by 1 matrix times a 1 by 2 matrix. Okay, that works because the 1 and 1 matches up in the middle, and the resulting matrix would be a 3 by 2 because that's dependent upon the outside numbers. So the result would be a 3 by 2 matrix. So let's take a look at some of these answers and see if we can eliminate some things here. So when I look at E, the first matrix over here is actually going to be a 2 by 1 matrix, 2 rows, 1 column, times a 2 by 2. Well, the middle numbers don't match up, so E is not even possible. And D has the same situation. The middle numbers don't match up, so D and E are not possible, which means we're now left with A, B, and C as possible answers. And to prove that it works, what we can say is that the first one is a 1 by 2 matrix, and this is a 2 by 2 matrix, so the middle numbers match up, and the answer would be a 1 by 2 matrix, which means it would just be 1 row, 2 columns, so it's going to just have kind of like 2 numbers that kind of look like that would be the answer. So let's actually go about solving it. It's kind of hard to tell what order these numbers from the problem should go in. So what I recommend students do is just kind of think about it in a real world context. So by that, I mean, think about this, just how much would you make if we just think about this in a real world context, not using matrices at all? Well, we get $3 for each student, $5 for each teacher. So we get 1 teacher and 10 students. So that would just be $5 plus $30, so that should be $35. And for the second school, we get 2 teachers, so that'd be $10 and 25 students, that'd be $75. So if you want to see how much money you make, it'd be 35 plus 85, so $120. And now that we've done that, we can kind of multiply these matrices out and see which one gives us that. So I'm going to move this over here. And let's multiply out some matrices and see what we can make happen here. So if I do the first one, you do 5/3, or 5 and 3, times 1/10. So that'd be 5 plus 30 would be 35. And then you do 5/3 times 225, and that'd be 1075, 85. Okay, well, does that match up with what we expected? Yes, it does. So that means that A must be the answer. And just to illustrate that C wouldn't work, we do 5/3 times 1, 2, and that'd be 5 plus 6 equals 11. So that's already a number that's not one of these from over on the right. So C would not work. And you'll probably need more help with matrices than what I gave you. I try to give you a good base, but definitely the multiplication part I didn't go in depth enough on. But typically you don't have to do the actual multiplication on the ACT, but in this case it did help. But regardless, A is the answer.